Hi, I'm Bill O'Reilly. Thanks for watching us tonight. Are Americans losing it? That is the subject of this evening's Talking Points memo. Stay with me here because this is amazing. A new NBC News poll asks, do you think things in the nation are generally headed in the right or wrong direction? A whopping 62% said wrong direction. Only 30% believe the USA is headed in the right direction. 5% are mixed up or something. Now, I believe the poll is accurate because the economy's soft, earnings are stagnant, foreign policy is the worst I've ever seen, ever. But in the same poll, Vice President Biden was matched up against all the Republican contenders for president, and Biden wins each time. The Vice President, 48%, Jeb Bush, 40%. Biden, 47%, Carly Fiorina, 41%. Biden, 49%, Dr. Carson, 41%, Biden, 56%, Donald Trump, 35%. The Veep isn't even running yet, but he soon will be, and this poll may nudge him. But how can these results happen when 2/3 of the country believe the country is in trouble? Biden's the vice president. He endorses pretty much everything Barack Obama does. So why would you vote for him? Talking Points believes the answer to that question is kind of cruel. Many Americans are simply dumb. They don't know what's going on. They don't pay attention. They don't care. No question the machines have allowed the individual American to create his or her own world. You don't have to live in the real world anymore. Used to be drugs and alcohol obliterated reality. Now it's your handheld device or your PC. That's why we do the Water's World segments. We go around the country asking simple questions many Americans have no clue, can't answer. Is there any other explanation for Vice President Joseph Biden, again an acolyte of President Obama, defeating the Republican challengers? About 20% of the country will vote for a Democrat no matter who it is. I mean, Miley Cyrus could be running and they'd pull a lever for her. Same thing on the conservative side. About 20% will always vote Republican. But that leaves 60% who could be persuaded. However, if you don't know anything and don't pay attention to current events, no matter what kind of facts are presented, you can't process them. And I believe that's what's happening in the USA right now. As always, I could be wrong. And that's a memo. Now for the top story tonight. Reaction joining us from Washington, Charles Krauthammer. Do you have a better explanation for the Biden showing, Charles?
Well, first, you're wrong. I think Miley Cyrus will get a lot more than 20%. Second, look, when Obama ran for his own reelection in a pretty dismal time, when people did think more thought we were on the wrong track than right track, he won re-election, so that's a test of your proposition. It's not even Obama at second hand, which is what a Biden would be. And third, what you have now is a candidate in Biden who's an idea, he's an abstraction, and a rather sympathetic one considering what he went through over the last several months and considering that he leaked to the New York Times that his son had said in his dying wish for the father to run. So he's got all of this sort of abstract stuff. His numbers are high. They will remain high until the day he declares, at which point his numbers will go down. He becomes a real candidate. Hillary Clinton herself was way up in the 70s or 80s. Then she declares for her candidacy. She's down in the 40s. That happens to all candidates. Otherwise, we'd have a President Rick Perry. He ran way ahead in 2012. And we've had that historically many times.
Okay, but now I have to correct you on a few things. Number one, when Barack Obama won re-election, we didn't have ISIS, all right? We didn't have every single part of the world in turmoil. And there's no question about that. There is no question that if you go overseas and you look at what's happening, Putin's now trying to take over the Middle East in conjunction with Iran. All right, hundreds of thousands, perhaps millions of refugees are fleeing into Europe, creating mass chaos. All of this comes back to President Obama's doorstep, and we're going to talk about it. We're going to hold Charles over to talk about foreign affairs. Then you go to the economy, and you see the median income in 7 years, not 3, 7 years, all right, not going down, going down. So it's almost, Vice President Biden has been on board with every single policy. There's no dissent, and there never will be. And you're telling me that Americans are going, yay, let's get another 4 years of this. Come on.
I'm telling you why right now he wins in the polls. I'd like to see him run against a Republican because I think he would lose, and for precisely the reasons you are talking about. when you finally get to the end of a general election campaign, there will be no denying what's happening in the world. And the personal sympathy and affection people have for a Biden will be dissipated. He'll have gotten slammed around by his own party in the nominating process and then really slammed by whoever the Republican nominee is. So I don't think these numbers in October, September of 2015 are determinative of how this election is going to turn out.
Okay, but you're discounting the dumb
factor. The Democrats have had a bad 5, 6, 7, 8 years, and it will show.
Maybe you're right, but I think you're discounting the dumb factor. I think there are lemmings now that can be led to believe anything because they don't pay attention and they don't really care about what's happening. Yet, come election day, you know, there they are. They're going to show up and they're going to, you know, whoever their friends are voting for, whatever it may be. And that's higher now than I think it's ever been in modern times. Do you disagree with that?
What's your evidence that we have a greater number of lemmings today than we did 30,
The evidence
40,
is anecdotal, but it's machine-driven. All people have. You don't think that Americans are receding into these machines? You don't think so?
I don't think Americans are less aware of their surroundings than they were when they lived on a farm.
Really?
With no information from the outside 100 years ago. They have infinitely more information. They are more literate. They are more involved. And I think the explanation obviously lies elsewhere. I know you don't like it when people who walk into you on the street looking into their handhelds, but that doesn't explain the political system.
Well, what explains the declining test scores in education? All right, the collapse of public education.
Because
all
we have we have a corrupt system run by the unions.
That may be true, but it's still the individual American getting a hit. All right, look, I got to tell you, you go into any public forum now, any forum, and you ask people the essential questions about their country, Charles, and they can't answer them. We sent waters to Yale. I mean, we're up at the Ivies, and they know nothing. All right? And I mean, yes, it's just a slice. I can't interview 3,000 people at once. But it's a slice that we see all over the place. We never come back with, you know, most people really knew what was happening. In fact, the tattoo people out in Coney Island knew more than the Ivy League kids did.
Listen, Bill, I've been to the Ivy Leagues and I've been to Jones Beach, where Waters loves to hang out. I used to hang out there in my youth as well. I don't disagree whatsoever that a large majority will say a large number of Americans have no idea what's going on politically or historically, but there is nothing new there. That's my point.
Oh, I disagree. My parents' generation, going through the Depression, going through World War II, all right, really, when things were really on the line, these people paid attention. And you know who pays attention now? The immigrants that come here. They're reading the paper, they're up on it, they know what's going on, but the Americans living the soft lives and addicted to the machinery, they don't know what's going on, and they can be manipulated, Charles, and they are being manipulated, and you can make an argument that's why Barack Obama won re-election. They bust in thousands of people who didn't know anything about their country, and they did it very well. They called it the ground game. Last word.
I'm a little bit reluctant to say any president is elected because of the stupidity of the American people. I would prefer to say because candidates were able to appeal in a way. Look, on the exit polling in 2012, the question that is the most important of all exit questions, which candidate cares more about you? Forget about the record, forget about the economy. In 2012, the answer was 81% Obama, 19% Romney. That's a 62-point
And that was
spread.
Romney's deficit.
And
I will agree with that.
Saddam Hussein would have gotten a higher number.
Okay.
The Democrats run as the mommy party that they care about you.
All right.
And that works.
If we're going to go on who cares about you the most, then Oprah should be president, okay? You've got to know something. It's got to be more than caring. And that's where we are.
She'd have to run with Britney Spears. That'd be a great ticket.
All right. Well, don't leave Miley out. I'm telling you, Miley's a factor. Now, we're going to hold Krauthammer over against his will to talk about possible rebellion in the Pentagon against President Obama's foreign policy. Are the generals finally